All right, so now you're live for that was the nice pregame for Facebook. So and then let's get this queued up. All right.
There's got to be a smoother way for you to do all of this.
Well, just remember we're Facebook Live, and when it goes to YouTube and everything, I do all the editing, but this is just live. We gave everybody, and it's funny because about 1,500 to 2,500 every single podcast end up watching this way. So this is kind of cool that way, but at the same time, you're right. There are ways to do it. All right. Got it. Hey, do you like the ad? I had that called up. All right. I just had to get this ready. So now, but what people hear, this is where it's going to start. I'm just going to hit this. We're going to be quiet and we'll go from there.
This is Alan Bishop, head alchemist at Spirits of French Lick. Be on the lookout for a brand new bottled and bond Solomon Scott rye whiskey. Made from a mash composed of 65% rye, 35% corn, and 5% victory malt. This 5-year-old 100 proof rye whiskey is a throwback to early 1800s style rye whiskeys of the Ohio Valley. Named after the legendary Daisy Spring Mill distillery owner turned moonshiner Solomon Scott of Paoli, Indiana. Remember, drink responsibly and never drink and drive. Hey, Scotchy Bourbon Boys fans, this is Alan Bishop, Indiana's alchemist of the Black Forest. So I'm tuning in here today to tell you all about the One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute channel on YouTube. If you're at all interested in the art of distilling, whether it be home distilling or professional distilling, and the intense geekery that goes into that process, then check out the One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute on YouTube. I promise you're going to learn something you didn't know before about the arts.
Drinking bourbon, sipping on some scotch. We get a little wild, but it's sure fun to watch. We love what we do, we're drinking every brew. Man, we talk some shit, but we're telling the truth. Yeah, we're the Scotchy Bourbon Boys, raising some hell and making some noise. Yeah, we're the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. We're here to have fun and we hope you enjoy. We're here to have fun.
Welcome to another podcast of the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. I'm Tiny, and that was Kenny Fuller from the Luca Mariano Old Americana Band. Thanks, Kenny, for doing our theme song. But tonight we have a very special guest here. We have Randy Prasse from the Kentucky Bourbon Festival, president of the Kentucky Bourbon Festival, also El Presidente, the president of the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. Welcome, Randy.
Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's like I am so excited and pumped up. I mean, honestly, I've been we for ever since 2019, that 1 year I've kind of been coming down there, but every year I get a little bit better at doing this. But we've taken the whole week. We're starting Saturday, September 9th, driving down, stopping off at a bunch of places along the way in Kentucky, eating at the OCB, the kitchen in Louisville, and not Louisville, Lexington.
There Saturday night.
Yeah. then, but just making our way down. But this year's festival I really feel this is the festival that you've got your feet on the ground. When you first started, it's just was like we were both what would you say, I was fairly new to podcasting, and you were fairly new to running a bourbon festival, not running festivals or state fairs or anything like that. But as we've gone along, you had the whole thing that happened, which I like to forget, but you were able to do a virtual virtual festival, which had to be new for you too. But now this year, I mean, just talk about what it's like to, now that you've pretty much what to expect with overall, but also you've got all this stuff lined up for everybody.
Well, and thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's the unique challenge of this kind of a festival, and it's true of any festival, is you've got 3 days to do it, and then you've got 361 days to think about what you have to do differently and to make those changes. So, we've actually had 9, if you count Bourbon in the Air on Thursday nights, let's say, 4 days for 3 years now, 12 actual days of a calendar year of bourbon festivals, and 900 days or 1,000 days of thinking and planning and making it different. And so, but you also know, anybody who was here, you were here obviously in the older version of the festival, and now you see what we're doing. There's probably 8 to 10 years worth of what would normally be gradual changes to an event, a transformation that we've done in 2.5 to 3 years. So people that have been to the 2019 and earlier festival but haven't been back, but maybe are coming this year, you will see a drastically different experience, and that's by design. What used to be maybe 10 or 11 distilleries out here selling t-shirts and hats is now transformed into 50 distilleries sampling and selling by the bottle, which is something unique that we just really started easing into last year, but full force this year. So people will see differences obviously from year to year. Jeffrey, I hope when you come in, you will be blown away, not only by the overall presentation of the event, and you've seen the nuances that we've kind of been incorporating, but the media and our podcast friends are extremely important to us to get the word out and help us, sell tickets and open this event up to other people. So we're going to take care of our media friends, probably like you've never been taken care of at an event before, and that's all by design. So I'm excited, but you're right. This is really the first year that I feel like every box has been checked, every detail has been checked. The distilleries are in a groove now to where they know what we're doing, so it's a little easier to manage that part of it. The admissions piece is consistent with what we did last year. Operational things that I won't bore anybody with, trash and setup and tear down efficiencies are in place. So I feel like this is probably the first year that I'm not going to have to be strapped to a radio and slogging around in operations mode every minute of every day. I'd actually like to enjoy the festival for a change and be able to spend some time with you and hang out and do that. So that's the plan. We'll see if it works.
That's cool, because I know that the last couple of years that well, I'm like so it's similar to me being at my own job. I work for my cousin. My whole job as a plant manager, he's business and owns, but I try and take as much pressure off of my cousin as possible. And it's the same thing when I'm at the festival and we're doing things. My goal is not to cause you 1 ounce more of stress or anything, because I can see there's certain things that you have to manage. So that would be cool. I mean, one of the funnest things that we did last year was when you were after the first day, that first night, and we were all at the Scout and Scholar, and you were there by yourself, and we all looked over at you, and we all came over, and we just had a really good time, because you just felt that you had let that air out. You were holding your breath, and it had gone pretty damn well, and you felt good. And that was like the first time I ever seen that you were like, in enjoy the moment mode, normally. So that's excellent.
funny thing about that, because that is actually one of my favorite memories from last year. And anybody who's been to Scout and Scholar on a Friday night during Bourbon Festival weekend knows it's one of the louder places in town. It's packed. It's, it's a very lively brew pub with a lot of good food. But I went over there after leaving the festival, and I'm sitting in the middle of this chaos, but all this noise was not directed at me. I was sitting there with a smile on my face, and I might as well have been deaf, because it was just, I just zoned out and I just was enjoying the moment. And that it's funny that you can go from a chaotic situation that you're managing into a more chaotic situation that you have no skin in the game, and it can be relaxing. So.
Exactly. And Scout and Scholar has a really nice outdoor thing going there too during the festival. I felt that the size of the festival, in which you basically seriously have given thought, because Bardstown is a historic small town USA. It has preserved. There's a lot of preservation of what is good about the United States has been preserved, there. And it's a very family community thing. And the size of the festival being is like almost perfect, because when you go out, it's crowded, like you said, there was chaos happening, but it's not overcrowded,
Right.
And that's something that I think you really strive for when you're designing this festival.
Well, and Bardstown, Kentucky is not only the bourbon capital of the world, but it's also been named one of the most beautiful small towns in America. So to your point, it absolutely is that. If the older people out there know Courier and Ives, there are certain elements to this small town that have that Courier and Ives feel, or the Saturday Evening Post. But like when I lived in Gettysburg, there's a contemporary Bardstown set against the backdrop of that history. In Gettysburg, the history was the battlefield. When you're in Bardstown, that history is all of the heritage and tradition going with the distilling industry. So, but yeah, and that's why, there have been people that have suggested that we relocate the Bourbon Festival off of the historic grounds. This building is just shy of 200 years old, and the adjoining grounds, move it somewhere else that maybe we could expand. And to move the festival away from where we are it just doesn't make sense. It's got to be in the heart of Bardstown. It's got to be an easy walk to the central business district, the people, the shopping, the access, kind of that hub and spoke. So, if our goal was to grow this festival and continue to grow in Bardstown, that might be a discussion to have. But it'd be easy for us to go and produce this at the county fairgrounds, right? A lot of level ground, a lot of power, a lot of parking, easy access, but then it's not the Kentucky Bourbon Festival. And it doesn't showcase the ambiance of, the park, the mature trees and the brick pavers and the little park benches and the gas lights, the real gas lights that are out here. That's all part of the ambiance. And if you look at our advertising, our creative is all featuring that. That's really what differentiates us from the larger and the more modern feeling, bourbon whiskey festivals that are out there are trying to get traction. We've got something not only unique from a geographical perspective, but also with the bottle sales and some of the other things that we're able to do legally that others, you can't get anywhere else in the world.
Well, and like you said, it's on those grounds, but I'm just, you were saying that the size and everything like that, but tickets went on sale in March, right?
May, right after the Derby, May 10th.
May 10th. And it was last week that the final tickets sold out, correct?
3 months.
If you're a bourbon enthusiast, it wasn't like you could, if you wanted to come to this, the tickets were there for you. It's not like all the tickets sold out instantaneously. And,
Right.
Yeah, some of the experiences, those VIP experiences, but is that any different than a concert? You know what I mean? When you when you go online to buy a concert, it's kind of like you want that VIP access. Right. That is not something that is just readily available to everybody. And that's one of the things that you've brought forward, I believe, in this festival. And it's kind of like you know, a rock star kind of experience with where the rock stars aren't musical people, which we won't even talk about that. But
Well,
the
a few
rocks,
are. I
what?
mean, Bernie Lovers brings his guitar. There's a few of them that are musical stars.
Yes,
It's just a
they're
few.
bourbon musical
Yeah, yeah,
stars. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And
yeah.
you've got some high-end podcasters coming. You've got, Sirius radio. I mean, the thing, and you're going to get the message out. But overall, if you really wanted to come here and you're serious about bourbon, I mean, I don't think that ticket, the 3-day ticket was, I believe, what was the total for the 3-day ticket?
175.
175.
And we gave people an opportunity to buy a day early for 150. So you literally could be paying $50 a day for unlimited sampling up from 50 different distilleries. And I mean, VIPs did sell out quickly. They sold out in 3 minutes. But
I'm well aware of how that went.
but we're also very careful. We're more of a boutique event by design. We're not trying to be 10,000, 15,000, because everybody would be standing in lines and not having the experience that I want to deliver. So we cap the number of tickets that we offer. And then out of that, we say 10%, no more than 10% of our total ticket will be made available for VIPs, because you've been to events that everybody you're standing around is also a VIP. Well, there's nothing special about it if half the people in the audience are walking around with, Wayne's World with VIP backstage passes. So if we sold 6,500 tickets, which is what we sold, 650 of those are VIPs, and they went quickly. So it tells us that people want that elevated experience. So we'll look at that going forward. But something that's also very important is that you can still buy that baseline 175 3-day ticket that we consider a general admission, but includes all of your sampling. And you can do a la carte. You can do add-ons. You can go and buy a premium event, a tasting event, an educational event. So you can still get your basic ticket package, but make it your own by kind of cherry picking the events that are really of interest to you. So you can still get that one-off custom experience without necessarily being in that old VIP, pond of people.
Okay, so I don't know. Last year we did bracelets. What are we doing this year? How is it going to actually work? I have not. Last year you were like all over the bracelet thing, and you were talking. And now this year I haven't heard shit.
Everybody but you will have the same wristbands with the RFID. You've got a dog collar with an RFID chip in it.
It's like, yeah. So it's got a built-in shock. It's in there so that anytime you want to shock me right from there, just
And I've got the app. So when Jeffrey's up, zap him. No, it's the same company, the same RFID wristband. I think everybody last year loved it. You walk in, you scan it, green light, you're in. You can come and go unlimited during the weekend. So if you want to go to up to the downtown area and shop, or go to the restaurants, or go on distillery tours, you can leave for a couple hours and come back. It's painless. So that's the same thing that we're doing across the board. No, we've added a level of VIP that will get, the nice fancy crystal decanter set and all of that stuff. But for the most part, all the levels are the same and the exact same technology.
Okay, yeah. I just wanted to. I hadn't heard that it was different, but I didn't hear that it was the same. So
it worked last year, so we're keeping it the same. We added a second gate, so instead of just the main gate, if you're a VIP, you get an hour early entrance, and you can come in through your own gate. We're actually building it right now. Cutter Construction, our major sponsor, is fabricating a miniature rick house that you walk through, not just the rick, like the main gate, which is still very impressive, but a smaller scale version of the entire building with the roof line and everything. So that will be VIP. And then the one major addition that we did this year to our overall footprint is we added the Bourbon Capital Bites, the food truck area. So if you've been in the last couple of years, you know what a struggle it's been to get food here. And the food trucks have been very inconsistent, and we had COVID and all the different things. So this year I went all in, and we have 15 of the top food trucks in the region going to be right next to us at the parking lot. So you will actually leave the grounds, go have your dining experience. We have covered tables and chairs, tents out there for dining, but then you can come back into the festival again, that unlimited come and go. But the thing is different is that if you happen to be in town and not have a ticket to the festival and you're turned away from one of the neighboring restaurants that have an hour-long wait, you can walk a block or two and come up and get something to eat and still enjoy a bit of the festival without necessarily being all in. And we hope that that exposes people to what we're doing inside the fenced-in perimeter.
Oh, so they will have outside access to the food trucks.
We're not promoting it, so people that are following this, we're not letting the food trucks go out and promote, hey, come out to see us. It's kind of like we do with the entertainment. The entertainment is for our ticketed guests. We don't want to cause that where a band might be on Facebook saying, come out and see us Saturday night at the Bourbon Festival, and then have people show up and not have tickets. So we're carefully wading into this program. But for this year, it is going to be open to the public, but we're not really promoting it that way.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's for our ticketed customers, right? So
right. But if you've gone out, there's a wait. You can it'll still be there for you after 6 o'clock to have some food, because it'll be opened because it's in that separate parking lot. Correct. Right. That's what makes it what makes you able to do that. Right.
But in the past, last year, we had 5 or 6 food trucks, and it wasn't enough, and it wasn't positioned in a good, logistically, it just didn't make sense where we had them. So now where they are, there's a lot of room for people to go and pick. And the cool thing is that all of the food trucks are partnered with our major distilleries. So each one of them is going to be using a different bourbon in one of their entrees. So whether it's a barbecue sauce or a dry rub or any kind of a glaze or whatever, each one of the food trucks is doing something with our partner distillery. So like St. Joseph's Church next door, the men's club have a pork chop and a steak booth, and they're using Maker's Mark as their influence because they've got a number of parishioners that have family connections to Maker's Mark. So there's still a connection, a theme into the main festival.
Okay, so that was perfect segue. All right, so I really like what you've done. Now, so I want to kind of go over with everybody what in the past your team has, and you've included me. I am honored to go on all the picks, but not all the picks that you have included me in. You have a team of people, Steve Coombs, yourself, Stacy goes around, and then also people who are part of the board on the Bourbon Festival. All people who love bourbon go around and do picks specifically for the festival. Now, last year I was on the New Riff pick, which was awesome. And then I was on, honestly, I was honored to be on this pick with Macaulay and Justin Thompson after when you guys were at that pick the year before we did this pick. So I was happy. I figured you brought me on that pick just to make sure that you were behaving yourself, kind of thing. But overall, that was my one and only double header, and double Kate, if you're still on there. We all know that El Presidente needed a little extra hand-holding and maintenance that night. But overall, lessons learned. No, yes, and we all learn lessons. It's like you read Fred No's book. Everybody's learned lessons as you go through whiskey. If you indulge too much and you have too much fun and you don't respect it at that time, it will bite you in the ass. There's no doubt about it. But overall, you live and learn, and you respect it more and more as you go along, as we get older. But what was happening before was you go on these picks, and then you had a bottle shop where everybody lined up and waited in line, and it was like the first, I believe the last 2 years, the first day, the line lasted all day. And I think what you've done this year is genius, in my humble opinion. One, it's going to be sold not from a bottle shop. It's going to be sold from the distilleries' booths. So the picks will be there. Now, that means you've just divided up that line
By
by
16.
what, by 15,
By 16.
by 16. Now 16 total picks now. That's awesome. And so 16 picks are happening. But one of the cool things is that the VIPs have a shot at getting that initially, which I'm excited about because, you know, I did buy a VIP ticket. So I was really happy about that. But overall, I think by dividing that up, selling it, but then also the distilleries themselves can make releases of other stuff. So if you come to this festival, I mean, honestly, I love that you got to always keep the Kentucky Bourbon Festival team picking, because you guys pick some really good, I think you're presented really good bourbon, but then you pick really good bourbon also. Whereas
that's absolutely true. What that last statement. And that's what I hoped when we first got into this. And I've told you the story. I didn't know what a barrel pick was until I started this job. And I started hearing people talking about barrel pick. So I asked my neighbor, what's a barrel pick? And then Travis Hill, who you know, Travis, I got to be friends with him long before we worked together. And I said, hey, this barrel pick, is that something that we should be doing? I mean, will people buy those? I have to commit to buying a whole barrel and they're $10,000. And he's like, dude, just do it. So, I mean, I just was figuring out the last one. We have Green River.
Ooh.
Green River just announced that they're going to do a barrel pick for us. So a little different. We're not going to go out like traditionally with a panel.
Right.
They're going to select from their honey barrels and they're going to put our name on it and sell it here at the festival. But that'll be our 50th barrel pick. So from that conversation with the neighbor and with Travis Hill about will people be interested in a barrel pick to now we have 50 of them under our belt over the last 3 years. But you know, the laws changed last year and it was too late. It was May, June before House Bill 500 passed. And you know, the distilleries didn't quite know how to manage it. I mean, to be honest, we had a couple.
I mean, I give Kevin Hill credit. Kevin Hill, and then I think Jim Beam managed it pretty well. But Jim Beam managed it with releases, okay, that they had done, because why Jim Beam did it, it was because they had just built that distillery. And they were already releasing it from their gift shops. So they were like, why don't we just release it from the festival? Well, and then same thing with Heaven Hill. But this year, I mean, I think down the line, honestly, the distilleries should be just releasing specific stuff that is Kentucky Bourbon Festival only releases.
And they're going to. So when the law changed, and you know, we were with Justin's House of Bourbon for the last couple of years and still dear friends with them. But when the laws changed that allowed the DSP distilleries to sell directly to consumer, it kind of obsoleted the need for that middleman merchant. So when we were faced with that, okay, how do we do this? The whole objective of this festival is to get the consumer, the enthusiast, face to face with the distillery. And we do that better than anyone else does. So how do you make that even better? How do you put more people in front of them? Tell them that if you want a Four Roses, you got to go to Four Roses. You don't stand in line for the bottle shop. You go to Four Roses. And guess what? Brent Elliott might be there signing bottles. And then you go to Maker's Mark. You go to Jim Beam. You know, Fred and Freddie might be over there signing. And it goes on and on and on. So that's the cool thing I'm really excited about is the people that are wanting to buy the bottles. One more advantage for the VIPs, you get an hour early admission and you get to go and kind of leisurely go and navigate the festival grounds and buy the bottles that you want. VIP is going to have first come, first serve, but they'll have exclusive bottle lockers in the VIP venue. So if you buy your bottles and you don't want to carry them around all day, you lock them up and they'll be there all day and you can take them home with you. So one more way we're elevating the VIP experience, but and the distilleries are all excited. You know, at first we thought that they may not want to do this.
You know, you do realize you should have talked to me.
About what?
There is no way that they wouldn't. I mean, this is a showcase event. Okay, so think of yourself. The Kentucky Bourbon Festival is the equivalent of the San Francisco Spirits Competition, where they hand out double gold. But they could participate, and they could put out their best stuff, because the people who love bourbon the most, 6,500 people who are willing to pay, $175 a day to go there, and then VIP people they're in front of. So you really think for 1 second they don't want to put their best out to these people? Because these people are the people who go back and they basically talk to all their friends and say, holy shit, this is fantastic. And I never thought for 1 second, I knew, like Heaven Hill, that private select they put out, that they kind of got screwed over a little bit on, that was like because of COVID. They put that out, and people, my people went insane. Everybody was trying to get as many as they possibly could. I've tasted that. That is one of the best. That is like in the top 10 bourbons I've ever tasted before in my life.
Wow.
So you're like a festival that's on the equivalent of that. You know what I mean? You're releasing from there. If they start doing those Kentucky bourbon, the secondary market, not that you want to participate, but it's going to go crazy over. This is what people want.
And I know I can't talk about it yet, but I know at least 4 distilleries that are doing either limited edition KBF only single barrels for us, in addition to the single barrels that we picked as part of our Distillers Row series. But there's at least one that's going to be a major reveal, and kicking off from one of the major brands here at the Bourbon Festival. And that's what I always thought we should be able to do. And so I've been asking. Like, first it was, can we do a barrel pick with you? And the answer was always yes. And then it's this year, can we do a barrel pick together? But I don't want to buy the barrels. You own the barrels and sell them, and then we just get a royalty. So I kept asking the questions and kept getting yeses. So I mean, we're starting to figure out that what you just said is that the distilleries told us what we needed to be relevant. And as long as we're continuing to demonstrate that and evolve at least pace with what the distilleries need, we're always going to have that partnership. They will always go back into the special areas and pick good barrels for us to pick from. And then, and so they will be doing other things that are KBF related, that are outside our single barrel program. And that's what I envisioned a couple of years ago happening. And it's just, it's gratifying to see it. It's validation that we're heading in the right direction, that we're in sync with the industry. Because for years we were so out of sync that the distilleries the ones that remained with us were only doing it they felt obligated to kind of keep helping along, but they were falling off one by one. That if we would have continued to try to put the old festival on through COVID, I would guarantee you all but maybe 1 or 2 of those distilleries would have gone away and gone on to something newer and shinier and sexier. And so now we are once again the new shiny sexy. We just always have to be that, because the newness will wear off unless we continue to evolve at least in pace with what the distilleries are telling us we need to be. So it happened real quick. It was a 30-year-old event, and in the last 3 years, man, we hit that fast forward button and got caught up to everybody, because the consumers and the distilleries were both way ahead of us, very sophisticated, and the festival's down here kind of lagging behind. And now I feel like we're delivering what the consumer wants. We're delivering what the distillery wants, which is that consumer coming in and being able to buy and get excited about buying the product. So
yeah, they hired the right person. So Greg Schneider is on, and
hey buddy,
and he loves the festival. He's been a part of it forever. And yes, he makes the comment that he wishes that his brand, which is made in Kentucky, bottled in Kentucky and everything. But I'm gonna at this point, you need to just tell everybody that you wish they could sell their brand too. It's not you or the festival. I mean, tell everybody it's
Kentucky law. And Greg knows this. I mean, I know. I mean, but it was, and I was accused last year of kind of being like picking and choosing winners, and by this distillery. And I said it absolutely has. I wish everybody could sell. I really do. The laws were rewritten last year to be very favorable for the DSPs. So the distilled spirit permit producers are able to sell. The non-distilling producers are at a disadvantage, and we know that. But we are partnering this year with Evergreen Liquors. They're opening a new location next week. They're 2 weeks ahead of time, but right up the street on 3rd Street, Evergreen Liquors Cox's Spirit Shop is opening, and we're partnering with NDPs that if they want to do a single barrel, they want to do a barrel of promotion with us, and they can't sell it at the festival, they can partner with Mike Fisk over at Evergreen, and they will carry their single barrel in their store. So, and this is the first year. I mean, they're not even open yet. I think there's 4 that we're doing that way. We're doing a Buzzard's Roost. We're doing a Penelope. There's 1 or 2 others that I can't think of right offhand. But 2 blocks from the festival. So the distilleries, like Greg could sample here at his location and tell people if they really like the product to walk 2 blocks up and pick it up at Evergreen. And that, unfortunately, that is kind of the limit. And Greg knows that I'm a big fan of chicken cock, and I mean, I love the product. I love the packaging. I love the ad. They're running an ad in the Kentucky Bourbon Festival program, something to the effect, and I know I'm paraphrasing here, but it's something when whiskey could still be named chicken cock. And I love to say it. I love to order it. And Greg knows I'm a big fan of his. And last year, the single barrel that we did with chicken cock was the first one in their history, going back to 1855. So there is absolutely nothing that I would love more than to continue those collaborations. But unfortunately, and we just went in front of the ABC today and got all of our permits approved. And the ABC has said publicly, and they're not an agency that's in the habit or practice of giving kudos to anybody, but they actually said that they identified the Bourbon Festival as one of the gold standards for alcohol service at a festival and operationally how we do it. And so, I mean, there's a lot of scrutiny on us because of what we've evolved to, but there's also a lot of positive attention that we're getting from the right folks. So that's probably a longer answer than we needed, but if there are more NDPs that have gotten their DSPs. So I will tell you, like Kenny and Ryan with Pursuit, they now have a DSP. So I mean, there are more and more that were with us last year as NDPs that were bummed because they could only sample, but now they've got their DSPs. But I will also tell people, and Greg knows this also, for 30 years, this Bourbon Festival only featured basically the heritage brands. The craft distillers were not. The craft distillers were not included in this festival until 2021. So part of me says, breathe, hang in there with us. You're being showcased now when a couple of years ago you weren't. So let's take that venue, that forum that we've created, and you make the most of it and convert those people to customers. You just can't do it on site.
Yeah, he says that he doesn't blame Kentucky Bourbon Festival. He's just disappointed in Kentucky legislature. Yeah, it's kind of like when you look at what you're talking about, is yes, there should be a provision eventually added in there for somebody who basically distills, bottles, and does everything in Kentucky that they can be able to do it. But because
and there is one way that can work, but I doubt it ever would happen. But the DSP that produces Greg's whiskey could agree to sell it at the festival under their DSP, but the DSP it cannot legally just lend its permission, can't write a letter and say chicken cock, Grain and Barrel can sell their products because on our DSP, but there is that provision. I just don't see it happening. I mean, the DSPs that are here on the site are going to want to feature their products. And I know, so we stay out of that part of the relationship, but
so you would have to partner with somebody's DSP. All right. So
well, they would have to, the DSP that produces the liquid would have to agree to include it in their bottle shop here at the festival, like they would at the permanent location. But No, it's definitely, and the thing that's really challenging for us is in some ways, our fairs and festivals as a nonprofit charity, the permit that we get gives us a lot of latitude, but House Bill 500 actually came in and kind of changed the latitude. Our boundaries used to be out here, and now it's a little tighter in some aspects because of the fact that distilleries are able to legally sell. So
Right,
on one,
which
we're encouraging it and telling people sell. You're dumb if you're a DSP and you're not out here selling. You're missing the whole point. But that also changes the game that we created a couple of years ago with everybody level playing field sampling only. So
but
it's good and bad, double
but
edged.
where you get the level playing field, we're a craft distillery, let's just say, that can't sell, but they can taste all whatever. I'm just saying what I know, what I've known, and why Chicken Cock does so well in Ohio is that Greg has done and Chicken Cock has done the legwork
Oh my God,
for
yes.
for name recognition. He's explained, I've heard him explain the Chicken Cock name over 100 times already. And
That's
the
the
reason,
key. That's the key. Not
yep,
everyone puts in the time and the mileage that Greg does. Greg's in Florida. He's in Wisconsin. He's
yep,
activating the brand. And our friends at Luca Mariano have started doing that years
yeah,
ago. When they first came, nobody knew who they were. Nobody wanted to do a single barrel with them, maybe because they hadn't heard of them. But they started out working the brand. They got a brand ambassador. They started going to bars and they started doing promotions. Greg is nonstop doing that.
yeah. And it's no different than what Booker did, what Fred did, what Greg's doing.
Early.
It still works these days. It's like Greg's up in, he comes up into Ohio, he goes into Wisconsin, he is with the groups, he's just basically explaining. And that name, so when you go and it's even more important when you walk into the liquor store today, what's on the shelf is insane. And you're going to buy something where you've had the master distiller tell you all about it, opposed to something like, I've never heard of that before,
No doubt.
and
No doubt.
and so I mean, that's part of my job to get that out to people, have people on and do that, just like the Kentucky Bourbon Festival and that type of thing. But at the same time, Greg does a really good job of it. But he's going to be at the Kentucky Bourbon Festival, talking all about that, sampling with everybody. And the same thing, like you said, with Kenny and Ryan from Bourbon Pursuit. It's great that they could sell their product this year, that they got that DSP, and that's a great aspect. The selling aspect is going to be phenomenal, and I think this year we're going to feel full force of that.
Well, and it's more and more people are figuring out the laws. It doesn't matter if you've been around for 150 years, if you're DSP 1 or DSP 2000, whatever. The laws are changing so rapidly and so historically, just yesterday kind of things, that everybody's still trying to figure it out.
But just remember, this is not fast. I mean, the laws they're changing right now are the laws that got put in effect based off of prohibition. I mean, it's been a long time that we have, finally started to lift that whole thing that the world can drink responsibly. It's kind of like, and then
very antiquated. It should have been done 60, 70 years ago, no doubt.
Yeah,
No doubt.
I mean, like you said, you give people who ran that festival credit prior to when you get there, because they were playing under completely different rules.
That's right.
This eliteness of this festival. But I can't say that you haven't done your group, and what you've done hasn't affected the legislature. I mean, you've been in front and you've petitioned them to do this, that you can that this festival can make and put Kentucky completely on top. They've always been right there and done a really good job, but what they've done now is crazy.
I mean, I know how to run a festival, but I also know how to exploit the laws. So that's really all I've done. I mean, people lump the credit on me, and gosh, it's humbling, and I love it because it makes me feel like I'm, doing something good. But the reality is the laws changed. I was in touch with the law change. Our legal counsel, I went out 2 years ago and hired the same law firm that's doing all the legislative language for the KDA and ultimately goes into the governor's hands to sign. That's our legal counsel. So the two attorneys that I work with are the ones that are writing the the law changes. And one of them is the son of a master distiller of one of our major, distillery partners. So I've become kind of a legal expert over the years by default, but also because I have to. I have to know every law and how can I push that limit and get approval to bring it here, because that really is what differentiates us from any other event. But I used to do craft beer festivals, you know that.
Yep.
Craft festivals, you can't buy beer, you sample, you buy your ticket. It's a 4-hour afternoon event. You go around and drink a bunch of beer, but you can't actually buy it. Maybe you remember you took a picture of a can or a bottle that you really enjoyed or something, and you went to buy it at retail. Wine festivals, you could sample and buy. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you could go to wine festivals and buy a case of wine and put it in your trunk. There's absolutely no reason that shouldn't have been the case with us. But it wasn't, and now it is, where you can buy up to 9 bottles from a distillery in any given day, go put it in your car, take it home, come back the next day and do it all over again. And that's finally getting up to where it should have been years ago. But that's really what it is. It's following the laws, and then it's going back to the distilleries. And you said earlier, why wouldn't all the distilleries be out here selling bottles who can? Well, it's not a matter of them wanting to or not wanting to. It has to do with creating a second, basically, gift shop retail operation at the busiest weekend of the year. So if you go into any of these distilleries on Bourbon Festival weekend to their permanent gift shop, they're slamming. Those tours are sold out months in advance.
Yep.
So it's how do we recreate that experience in a smaller mobile situation out in a field in a 20 by 30 tent, and how do we do our point of sale? How do I staff it? So I give these distilleries credit for taking on that task, and we all know that there's a major event that has bourbon in the name in the neighborhood that weekend, and so that becomes a challenge too. Is how do you staff the Bourbon Festival with all of your master distillers and brand ambassadors and your whiskey makers here, but then also have to possibly do double time with an event 30 miles away. So we're changing that next year, by the way. But
did you make me totally depressed?
Why? Oh, your birthday.
You know why? It's just like I'm like, oh my God, I just like I send you out thing. Oh, my 40th, my 60th, my 40th, my 60th, my 60th birthday is going to be next year, right on Bourbon Festival. You're like, sorry, you came back with that so fast. I thought you were just shitting me. You know what I mean? At first, but yeah, but then you said,
you're like, is this true? I'm like, you were actually the first person outside of my board of directors that I told. So, well, congratulations on that.
Oh, well, and then also since then my birthday is going to be the following week, you'll just have to start your vacation up here in Ohio at my birthday party and then head off to the Bahamas or wherever you're going to go.
I would love that, actually. I mean, people don't see the setup and tear down part of the festival. You see the 3 or 4 days that you're here. I mean, we start building in 2 weeks from today. And it takes us 3 days to kind of tear. If it takes you 6 days to build, it takes you 3 days to tear down. It's always twice as fast to remove it. But people like leave on Sunday and like, okay, Randy, good job. And then I hope you enjoy your vacation. I'm like, well, shit, I'm not going on vacation yet for another 3 or 4 days. But
yeah, and then I'm just gonna say, setting up is so much more fucking fun than tearing down. Tearing down, it's over, and you're just kind of trying to. You've ran the marathon. Now you got to like push 3 more days, and then you got, you can't leave. You still have to have your focus, right?
Yeah, I mean, and I go through the festival decompression, afterwards. I mean, right now I cannot wait till like the 20th of September right? Get it done. I want to shower and sit in the bourbon theater and binge watch my James Bond movies and just sit there and stare at the wall. But as soon as that's over, then there's that depression of, wow, I got to start tomorrow on next year's festival. And there's always the laundry list of experts, what you ought to be doing, what you should do. What have you ever thought about this? So I got to filter all that stuff out. And there's some good stuff in there too. But anyway, so I mean, I need to have some time. So next year, your birthday weekend, maybe go to the Football Hall of Fame and kind of make it. I've never been in it. I've been to it, but I've never actually been through the Hall of Fame. And we can do a good old fashioned Ohio.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
And maybe Double O Kate will come with me.
Yeah, that's what I'm just going to ask that for my birthday. I'm going to be like, yeah, Randy and Double O Kate come up and we do some things and then have a party.
And
that's my birthday present.
You always bring beer I can't get to me. So maybe when I come to you, I'll bring you some special stuff that you can't easily get from down here. How's that? Maybe I'll get you some Tennessee whiskey. No, never.
Although you get the right stuff, I love whiskey, so that's.
I didn't realize that whiskey was actually made anywhere outside of Kentucky. So I have to like broaden my horizons a little bit. I'm kidding, everyone.
Yeah, there's a lot of it out there, which all has its own thing, but at the same time, like, let's get the last thing that, as far as the festival goes, this year, what is the merchandise aspect? How can, you've changed that, a little bit. So talk about the merchandise that as far as the last thing, because merchandise to me, I love all merchandise.
I know you do. You are like a walking brand at all times.
I pay for it. I get it free.
So, I mean, and that's a good point. So I inherited a situation where we had a bourbon festival store with shirts, hats, whatever, and no one else was allowed to sell like wearables, logo things. And it's kind of taken a couple of years for me to kind of work through that cycle. And now we've got a partner in our retail business that works with every single distillery. They work with the Bourbon Trail, and they're now taking us on. They do Kentucky Derby and the Derby Museum. So these are big time retailers. They're great creative, but they're good business partners of ours. So now when you come to the festival, there will still be a festival store where you can buy Bourbon Festival stuff, dated, and the concert shirt, kind of like you have. I think on the back of your shirt has the list of the distilleries from a couple years ago. So I mean, that'll happen again. Bourbon Trail merchandise will be available in that store, so it's all on the KBT. But then we've also been working with the distilleries to kind of undo what we've been telling them in the last 5 years, which is you can sell glassware and coasters and things like that, barbecue sauces if you have it, seasonings, but you can't sell anything wearables, hats, tees, hoodies. And now we've turned it around to where we want them to do it. The same merchandise partner works with all of them. So you're going to see a few of them selling from their booths with Bourbon Festival logos, maybe on the sleeve. But for next year, we're encouraging them all to come up with a really cool design, like on the front of your shirt, that it might say, an Elijah Craig, but it'll be Kentucky Bourbon Festival, and Maker's Mark, Kentucky Bourbon Festival. So incorporating our brand into their brand and having it dated. So, I mean, people want that, right? You want to come in and buy your favorite brand. If you are a Chicken Cock fan, you should be able to go to the Chicken Cock booth and buy a t-shirt that says Chicken Cock, but also has Kentucky Bourbon Festival 2023 or whatever incorporated to it. So that is the objective for next year. So this year it's a transitional year. You can, distilleries can sell their merch. Hopefully they'll put KBF on some things. Next year, it's like we want every single distillery to have at least one product line that has the Bourbon Festival incorporated into the main design on a shirt or hat, and and off we go.
So here's a word of advice: just let Buffalo Trace do whatever they want. that place merchandises. That is by far the best merchandising distillery in Kentucky. They know how to make stuff and make you spend money. My biggest cut on them was
You
they
may not be able
never,
to go in and buy a bottle of whiskey on that day, but you could buy some White Dog and some barbecue sauce. All right. I
yeah,
mean, that's
yeah, and then you could just like what I mean, my God. My cut on them was every time I went there, they never had triple XL. So the last time we were there, I don't know what it was, but everything was in triple XL, and I basically went broke. It's just about
buy
how,
it now or forever hold your peace.
yeah, it's just like,
No, but and that's a good point, because I will tell you, over the last couple of years, Buffalo Trace has been a partner distillery of the festival, but they haven't been out on the lawn sampling. This year they're sampling. They're sharing a booth with 1792. So both brands have been very supportive of us. They've been in the VIP venue with their products, but they just didn't have the staffing and they couldn't get their arms around how to activate for 6,000 people. So they will be out on the lawn with a 1792 and a Buffalo Trace shared booth, kind of like Brown-Forman does with Old Forester and Woodford. I fought really hard. Those two brands walked away from the festival because we no longer aligned with what their marketing strategies were. So to get them back after a number of years and have them here, Chris Morris from Brown-Forman is a huge fan. So I am very proud of that. But
okay,
so if
you should be. You should be.
Yeah.
That's the kind of work, that's why you're on here, telling us what you're doing, what you're bringing to you're bringing what the bourbon consumer wants.
Yep.
And what the great thing is you have 6,500 people that are serious bourbon consumers. And that is, when people on, through local people or whatever, talk about whatever, hey, it's just like, I can tell you why it shouldn't be free, because there's value to it. And you just want to drink or sample up to 50 distilleries, whiskey for free. It's just like, there's so much. This festival is so different than other festivals that still charge a certain amount. This is unlike any festival in the United States that I've ever gone to. Now, I'm not sitting there ripping on other festivals. Those other festivals, like Ohio has their craft distillers festival. I like that because I get the chance to try different things that I don't want to try. But this festival is 100% about access to the distillery and the people who make the whiskey. And it's a different level. And I think $175 for 3 days is, when you think about what a movie costs you to sit there for 4 hours that they play over and over and over. This is something that is, it has a value that is a cheap price to me.
Well, and thank you. There's that delicate balance. We were free for 30 years. So the first year we were $10 for a single day and $20 for 3 days, because I wanted the local
sample.
Right. You had to buy a separate sampling wristband, but that was the model we started with. Because of COVID, we had to manage how many people were going to be here. So I aligned it with the local county fair. For $10 a day, you can go to the county fair. And that was kind of what we did, but that was not the right approach. VIP and catering to the enthusiast is the ticket. And that's unique to us, and the access that we have to the master distillers. They're all here, for God's sakes, The other night I was texting back and forth with Denny Potter and Jane Bowie, just completely cracking up. They were going back and forth at each other, and I'm in the middle of this text battle. But that's what makes this cool, is you can see them at Scout and Scholar any given Friday night. And Fred and Freddie and Parker, we were sitting around the other night drinking some of their new product, the Little Book. And that was just, it's here though. I'm not name dropping. I'm just saying that is the Bourbon Festival.
No,
Brent Elliott's walking this way, and Greg Schneider's dropping. Chris Morris is going
Seriously. there. That's the part of whiskey and the people who make it.
Yep.
They are, Fred and Freddie are going down in history.
Yep.
They have books written about them. In 100 years, they will be, Booker and, all the Beam family, they're part of that. And but at the same time, they live in a small town with a small town mentality of that they're not bigger than anybody, and they are humble, and they love people who love what they're doing, and they give back. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean,
But
it's a
this
special place.
This bourbon festival, I put it in terms of, let's say you go to an Aerosmith concert and you buy mid-level tickets, a couple $100 in to see an Aerosmith concert. Now you throw in the fact that Steven Tyler and Joe Perry are out walking around in the crowd, and you might have a chance to talk to them, take a picture with them, and get something signed. That's the bourbon festival. It's not just the backstage access for the elites. You can spend $175, or if you're smart, sign on early and get a $150 ticket and have access to, you can run into them. Hey, can I get a picture with you? I mean, they literally, and they want that. Every one of these people walk around with a gold marker or a silver, paint marker in their pocket so they can sign stuff and take pictures. It's humbling for them. That's usually the first thing that they will tell you that they weren't expecting when they became master distiller or the main, whiskey maker for their brand, is the demand for autographs and photos and things like that. But that's what we offer. We've got them all here, and they're all signed up. They're all coming here. So if you come here, the top talent from each one of these distilleries will be here off and on, sometimes maybe the whole weekend, but they'll be here. So
yeah.
that's
well, my challenge this year is going to be, because of how you set up the media. One, that's one of my strong points. Yeah, as you know, it's like you present me with the format when I get here, I will basically streamline and basically use the format to my advantage so that it's the best that it can be. So I'm excited about Media Row this year and what it is, and I really appreciate everything that Media Row represents. And then also, you got to know how awesome your festival is, and I'll explain it to you from my point of view. So the VIP goes on sale, and we've got 8 people trying to get VIP, right? And that's what we're trying to do so that we can counterbalance our media VIP. So we're sitting there all trying to get it. And so it comes down to, we've got 3 of the 4 tickets we want. And all of a sudden, Roxy's like, there's a decanter. There's a decanter VIP. And it's like, that is some serious money that you're dropping, right? And I'm just like, but I want it. And she's like, so we go through this little process while the ticker's clicking down. And she's like, it could be your birthday, Father's Day, and Christmas present. And I'm just like, do it. So you're really
not going to be disappointed, man.
I don't think for one second, I never thought I would. I love the fact that the decanter and everything's coming to me. And then all the stuff that we've got going on with the VIP tent, plus the people. I mean, we have a crew coming down there and we're going to cover it. And but I'm excited for everything that is.
It's you kind of set me up. It's like I feel like there's like a swarm of locusts coming. Like we should call the county deputies and tell them to watch out for you when you come in here.
Yeah, no, Stacy will keep me in control. She's got me. I mean, that's another thing. I mean, Stacy, I just want to say she's just been doing such a great job for you. I really feel that she's your partner in this. And I think when the festival hits,
we did a pinky swear on their first day that we would always have each other's back. And I told her as recently as yesterday, in front of the board, I don't know how I've done it the last couple of years without her, because I mean she's that, like, the bulldog, and I mean that in a very complimentary way. She is just out there trudging and getting it done. And I'm the good guy, right? I'm always the guy that has to be liked, and that to my detriment, sometimes that means I don't draw the hard line with our distilleries or some of our podcasters. Um, but no, I mean, she really was a great addition to the team. And I mean, what the net result will be, the distilleries will have a better experience. The consumers will have a better experience because of the fact that we're setting these distilleries up to be successful. And, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. The better we are, the distilleries are always first. I've always said that. I learned a valuable lesson at Churchill Downs, where everybody's fighting over who's more important, sponsor revenue and ticket revenue. And then at the end of the day, it's like, you know what, without those 20 horses in the starting gate, you don't have a derby. None of your sponsor money matters. None of your ticket money matters. You've got to have those horses, the horsemen, the owners, the trainers, the people that are back there, the grooms and hot walkers, the people that are, 5:30 in the morning that are making those horses, train. That's the important part. Well, in our case, it's the distilleries. We work for the distilleries. They're the most important piece of this event. If the distilleries aren't taken care of, then the consumer ultimately suffers. The sponsorship goes away. But if distilleries are happy and they want to be here, and I mean this very sincerely, 34 years of doing festivals, I've never had sponsor distilleries actually remind me that their contract is renewing this year and they want to make sure they get extended for 3 years. And so that's very humbling. I mean, that tells us that we're going in the right direction. And I don't say that in a cocky way. They're investors. I've always talked to them as investors in the direction of this festival, not sponsors. It's not NASCAR. We don't slap a logo on a car and let it run around, 250 times. It's an investment in the experience, the venue, the forum that we're creating for everyone.
Well, but you've taken something that was historically for the distillers, where they can all get together and have a good time together. And you basically have taken that experience and then taken it so that it no longer was something that they were fronting, but they were able to now participate, do the same thing, but at the same time, make it something that's beneficial overall to the whole outside world, and make it worthwhile to them, where it was starting to, when you do something, I mean, if you have a family reunion every single year, but that's not so much special. So you've taken it out of that family reunion thing, where it is now a festival about bourbon, but they still can participate in the whole family, bourbon experience, and then brought even more people into it. I mean,
well, there's two things that you touched on, and overall that timeline, 32 years. It started off as Jimmy and Fred and Booker hanging out, drinking each other's whiskey, and a crowd assembled. And all of a sudden the crowd kind of grew, and there was something special there. And then it transitioned to, that was about the people who made the whiskey. And then it kind of morphed, and I don't mean this in a bad way. The reality is the Bourbon Festival became about the community and the distillery workers. It was a chance for them to all come out and stand in front of the stage and probably not drink bourbon, but drink beer. And it was a big reunion. It was a community celebration, and that's wonderful. But while that was going on, the distilleries were starting to get more sophisticated and more serious. And the trend had started.
They got owned by corporations too. It used to be everybody was family owned when that started, and now it's corporations, and it's about making money, and also
selling whiskey. That's the thing. When it was the community celebration for all those years, probably 20 of the 29 years, 25 of those years were the celebration, but it wasn't about selling more whiskey. It wasn't about introducing people to brands. And so that's why it had to change, because it was the distilleries were underwriting the party, and they told us point blank, and there's a couple of quotes, it's great, but we can no longer afford to underwrite Bardstown's party.
Well, it's
And-
too big
and-
too.
Yeah, but it
Got
had
so big,
it had
and now they're
to-
underwriting this giant party. When it first started off, it was just, you know, Booker and everybody kind of getting together, and it was this little thing. Well, it's gotten to the point where it was like, I mean, I remember going in 2019, you could finally get a drink at the thing, but
cocktail.
but
Oh,
what?
mixed drink.
A
Mixed
cocktail,
drink.
a cocktail. Now
No
you
need
could,
for it.
now the VIP I purchased, and I was impressed. I was up there in your redesign, you know what I mean? And it was nice. It was air conditioning, and I could get pours of certain things, and I could take those pours down onto the grounds. Okay, they let you do that, but all the other events that I was, you know, the gala was off-site, the cigars and was off-site. It was all something separate. And
Yep.
but what was happening at the festival was you had the food trucks, which were carnival food trucks, and you had the bourbon relay, and then you had the couple distilleries, Jim Beam and Wild Turkey, serving mixed drinks. And then you had the VIP upstairs. But the party was, when I went to the gala, the party went to the food trucks and the beer trucks and everything. And that's where they had local bands playing and stuff like that. And Bardstown was partying, where I, as an outsider, went somewhere else to party because I, you know, paid, and it wasn't a bad experience. I enjoyed the experience. But
I love the community festival. I always have. My career started in the mid 80s managing a small little community founders day festival at the flea market and the food trucks and the beer garden. So I love that. It just couldn't be here right now.
Right. And then also remember that if they would have given you Summerfest, we wouldn't be talking right now, because that Summerfest would be the ultimate festival in the world at the moment. But you know, that's beside.
Well, funny you said that. I mean, the state fair, I mean, I really worked hard I'm a farm kid, so the state fair meant something to me. And every single time I talked to somebody, when I first started, they're like, so what's going to be, you're not going to change anything, right? This is the festival or the fair I've been going to all my life and bringing my kids to. I'm like, no, it's all, then they'd be like, so what's new this year? And that's the balance we have with this festival. I've lived with that. Churchill Downs Bourbon Festival, it's be careful not to change the traditional things, but always have something new. So if you've come 3 or 4 years in a row, you should recognize some comfort things like, here I am. But oh, that's cool. That's new. That's different. This is better. And that's kind of in the planning. It's like you get to a certain point, and then you do the baseline things very well, and then continue to enhance and tweak the other experiences. And that's kind of where we've been the last 3 years.
Well, put it this way. I think this year I will walk away from Kentucky Bourbon Festival the brokest I've ever walked away, because there is so much opportunity this year. Like last year, couple distilleries, but they're all gonna know what they're doing right now, and I'm gonna want more than I can afford.
Yep. Well, and I will be, and if anybody from these distilleries are watching, listening, I went to Rabbit Hole last year, and they've been a great partner, and I love Christy and Kave and Cameron. And, I said, you can't continue to do just the premium event without having your activation for everyone. And so, I mean, I put my arm around Christy and I said, walk over here. This is where Rabbit Hole should be. Boom. So they're here. They're activating this year.
That's
Kave,
awesome. Because last year when you see, and you're a marketing genius in the fact that when Rabbit Hole, it's not like you didn't set up Rabbit Hole's tent and put up their name, because they were there in some capacity, but their tent was empty. I mean, you know what I mean?
We just did the third pick. So we did a High Gold. Last year we did a Cave Hill. This year we're doing the Derringer. So next year we've got one more, right? And we were told after we were the first barrel pick they ever did. Like Greg with Chicken Cock, Rabbit Hole and the Bourbon Festival did the very first single barrel pick for another outside client. Yep.
Yep.
And
That was that.
the Mad Hatter from the Alice in Wonderland series. And we were told we probably wouldn't get another one because it was such a rare thing. Well, to Christy and Kave's credit, they came back to us and we did a Cave Hill last year.
And I have not opened that because guess what? I think that's a collector's item. But
and just wait, this Derringer we did this year is amazing. But so I mean, but they get it. I mean, and Angel's Envy was in a couple of years ago.
They do new artwork.
Yeah.
They've done new artwork for so
it's the same theme. The set of 6, you buy a case, you got all 6 different pieces of artwork in there. This year it's a Shakespeare, I believe, this fall that we're doing.
How much is a case? I never even knew you could buy a case.
You can buy a case and each case has got one of each of the 6 labels inside.
Okay.
So Kave just confirmed he's going to be at the festival on Saturday. And he'll be there meeting people and signing and stuff. And he's this wonderful character. He's very, recognizable.
Kave's awesome.
Angel's Envy is our anchor partner distillery with the new cigar lounge. And you've known, I'm not a cigar smoker, but I've been trying for the last 3 years to get this cigar lounge program to go. 2 years ago, we did it small scale with Angel's Envy, and it was this little nook by the bourbon bar. This year, the whole corner of the main lawn is going to have Angel's Envy there. It's going to have a Deployment Cigars there. And
cigars are for sale right there.
Cigars for sale right there. And David Webb, we talked about earlier with Sirius XM, he's going to be there all weekend meeting people and signing and et cetera, et cetera. And then we've got a world-class guitarist playing. So there's a small little stage just for for the cigar lounge, excuse me. And this guy actually passed up on an opportunity to play with the Louisville Symphony.
What time?
To come down and play all weekend.
So all day long, all weekend, that cigar lounge is going.
It's going, and it's, world-class music. It's without actually saying it.
Unproductive.
It's bourbon, cigars, and jazz. He's a jazz guitarist. We own Bourbon Cigars and Jazz trademark, so I'm not speaking out of school, but that was a Heaven Hill event that we partnered with them. So I'm not saying we're producing Bourbon Cigars and Jazz, but at the festival, you will have bourbon, cigars, and jazz and lounge furniture. It's going to be a great hangout area. But again, it's distilleries that I go talk to. It's like, this is my vision. Will you be the partner? I went to Michter's. Andrea, Michter's connects and aligns with food, the culinary side of things, more than probably most other distilleries. Rabbit Hole does, the James Beard alignment. But when I talked to Andrea a couple of years ago about, I really want to elevate our culinary presence and also make the connection with Michter's, are you in? Boom, done. So, you come with an idea and then you execute it.
Is Michter's doing something special?
Yeah, Michter's will be, as far as releases.
Yeah.
I cannot talk about that.
Good. Thank you for not talking. So are you like me where you'll smoke a cigar here or there, or do you have asthma and you can't smoke a cigar?
Yeah, I have years and years ago in Racine, Wisconsin, I had a swimming pool and I was opening it for spring and inadvertently took a big hit of chlorine gas out of my chlorinator, and it fried all my little things in my bronchioles. So I basically
anytime you smoke a cigar, it's like a horrible experience.
I have permanent bronchitis basically. So yeah, if I'm even around cigar smoke, I hate it because
we'll never find you in the cigar lounge.
It's so much part of the culture. No, but I've thought about this. The winds blow west to east, right? So the cigar lounge is on the eastern edge of the festival. So naturally the smoke will blow out. We brought in some extra fans to help, because amazingly, distilleries, some really like the cigar connection and some don't want to be anywhere near cigars because it changes the nosing and the tasting. So even those little details, it's like, I need to put this in a spot where naturally the air is going to blow it, but I need to put some fans behind it to force the air out, but not blow people. I don't want anybody's hairpiece blown off or whatever when you're sitting there. But when you see it, I'm telling you, I mean, you'll know when people say, so what do you do the rest of the year? You'll know what I do the rest of the year. This festival is going to be an example of
What do you
how
petition
Presidente does.
the Kentucky legislature? I mean, honestly, I'm like, I feel that I know you, and you work all year round. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, yes, after the festival, and yes, you can go to events, and your job is fun. There's no doubt about it. There's a lot of fun. But as far as the seriousness that you take it, it's on a level that well, put it this way. I talk to a lot of people. I've talked, I know people who run festivals. I know people who, run distilleries. And I think, honestly, I don't look forward to the day that you move on because I think this is your niche right here. But there's going to be a day when you're going to have it set up, and and you will no longer feel challenged. So I mean,
David Mendel and I were talking this morning, and David, for those who don't know, he was co-founder of Bardstown Bourbon Company. He spent a number of years with Kentucky Owl. He's now started off on his own other project that is going to be amazing. But we were talking this morning, and a leader from day one should be, making the business set up to where you can be replaceable easily.
right.
And it sounds counterintuitive, but I people who know me, the people who matter that know me with the board and so forth, they know what I do. But when I leave, the next person should be able to come in and have the map to how to do it. And only people that are like protective and like are maybe
well, the most depressing moment for me,
maybe.
the most depressing moment for me was when I went back to the Wisconsin State Fair last year. It's like, and I got to see where it was and what you were setting up, and they just basically took it further, and
yeah, I love that. I'm gonna go next year. I
well,
went
if
once.
you go,
I went
I'll
once.
go with
I went there once since I left, and 95% of the things that I put in place and started with marketing and the different sponsorships and the stages and the agricultural, it's still there. So I'd like to think that when and if I leave the Bourbon Festival, I could come back in a couple of years and hopefully recognize it, that somebody didn't feel like they had to do some wholesale change to the program. But I'm telling you, this event, it's the first time in my career that I've had the just unwavering support of the board, which most of them are from the distilleries. I've got the mayor's office and the city council and the neighboring community that love what we're doing. The corporate sponsors love what they're doing. We've got opportunities that I can't talk about here today that are on the horizon that will it's game changing for the industry, and I've got a lot of support for that. So I won't leave until I feel like I've done it all. And there's so much upside. The craft beer festival, and it went up and then it kind of plateaued. Then they kind of start eating themselves, and it's kind of this, the corporate buyouts of the brands, and it kind of declined. And now brew festivals aren't as important as they were even 5 years ago. I don't see that happening here. I mean, I don't see us.
No.
We haven't plateaued.
I've worked in the world of photography, and photographers have consistently consumed each other. It's just like there used to be rights managed, and people would make a shit ton of money, and then there was royalty free, and I've watched the industry consume itself, but the bourbon industry, these people are down home, real people running, and they get what they're doing. And there's, when you talk to Fred and Freddie, they understand what their place is in history, but they also know what their place is, their humbleness in the fact that they're producing something and they're just people. And that's
Well,
something.
Sandy
There's
makes sure that happens,
what?
right?
Sandy?
Sandy makes sure those two stay grounded.
Yeah, there's give Sandy credit. Sandy stays grounded. I mean, there's no doubt that it's just like that woman. I was talking to her. She's just, the funny thing is, my last 2 trips down to Kentucky, and you were included with Kate. And then also, it's just been to be with friends that I've made. I don't want everybody to think that it's just because the podcast I'm coming down there. I really feel the people like yourself, Kate, Sandy, and Fred and Freddie. I want them to feel. I want to just hang out. And same with Stacy.
Well,
we went to the Volstead.
You've stayed in our guest room, right? So I mean, you're a friend, and you're always welcome. And
every time, my whole life revolves around finding Trogues beer for you, because if I see it and it's different, I'm buying it. Did you have one of the Cubby Bears?
For those of you watching, Trogues Brewing out of Hershey, Pennsylvania was one of my favorite, not only brands and products. They're the only brewery I think that I've ever had every one of their beers. I've never had a clinker. And I mean, the Trogner brothers are just great friends, and they helped me start a music festival in Gettysburg. And I mean, they're just great people. So yes, but you can't buy it in Kentucky. So unless I want to drive to Cincinnati, I have to have an Ohio friend that's willing to mule some Trogues to me. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem. It's not a problem.
Back to the Beam No story. Was it Thursday night when they did the Little Book dinner?
Yeah, that was, and then they did the Little Book dinner with Baker, right?
No, right. So I mean, there's the fan table, but I showed up. I'm texting that I'm going to be about 5 minutes late. I hit some traffic, so I parked down below, and I did the big long walk upstairs to the kitchen table venue, and everybody was still outside, like getting ready to go in and have dinner. It wasn't like I was walking into late for dinner. And Fred and Freddie and Sandy and everybody stood up and like looked at me and like looked at their watch, like, well, about damn time you showed up. I mean, it was like orchestrated, but we're friends, and it's humbling. And people were like, Fred, no. I'm like, his face is on the bottle. I'm like, I know, but yeah, he's a good guy. He's a dear friend, and that boils down with this.
This is so. I've made friends with Sandy and Fred, and Sandy, we were just down there going, and she drove us around Kentucky. We went to Lincoln's birthplace and also where he grew up, and the ice cream shop that was right there out. I mean, she took us all around, which was great. But this bottle right here, the 2022 Fred's Pick. It's just like I had asked Sandy, because that was a distillery release, and so I went down there, and she's like, I got a surprise for you. And it's just like I walk into their house, and the kitchen table's right there. When you walk into their house, the kitchen's there. My painting is hanging in their kitchen, you know what I mean? And then Fred walks in and he presents me with this bottle. It's Fred's Pick, signed by Fred, given to me, to him, right to me in his kitchen.
In the house. I've never been in the house.
So. Well, but
I've been in the man cave,
No, but seriously, we need to hang out with Sandy in the house. We sat around when we went down, and so after we were done going around, she invited us back. We sat around the kitchen table. She's like, what do you want? And she's got the first she's got the rice version of this bottle sitting she's like, you can have anything you want. It's just like it's so much fun.
Dear individual, for sure.
But do you see this, right? This is yours.
Yeah, yeah. As you're talking about Beam, you got a Makers sitting in the foreground, which is
Well,
also
but that
really good.
Makers Cubs version, you are a Cubs fan.
I
I am
know.
a Brewers fan through and through, but I love the Cubs. I love the Cubs. It used to be the American League Brewers versus the National League. You know, that would have been a
Braves.
great World Series. But when they
The
joined,
Braves. Yeah.
I enjoy the Cubs and the Brewers. I'm a fantasy baseball fan. And so we're sitting there and we see this, you know, this sculpture, and Nash is like, this is coming to you for Kentucky Bourbon Festival.
Good.
And
I
then
love
he's
that.
like, we were like, look at that. That's the 2023 version of the Cubs. And who knows who's going to win? We got a month left. You know what I mean?
We're on the roll here, buddy.
So the Brewers on a
No,
roll,
thank
the
you.
Cubs are on a
Thank you.
roll.
Super Nash is amazing. But you know what? I worked and lived 10 minutes away from Miller Park in Milwaukee. I've gone to more games at Miller Park than I did Wrigley Field. I had a reserved parking spot, like in the executive parking spot, because I was always there. And I've thrown out 3 first pitches at Miller Park, but never at Wrigley. So that's one of my goals.
Really? Seriously?
But I love.
Wait. If you throw out a first pick at Wrigley, a first pitch at Wrigley, I
Yeah.
want to be there with you.
And
So
you know who the official bourbon of the Chicago Cubs is, right? Beam.
Beam? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they got
I
Beam.
gotta work on that. I would be a lifelong dream. But the funny thing is, the Brewers front office, they all knew I was a Cubs fan. So all 3 of my first pitches were Brewers at home against the Cubs.
Well, yeah. Did you get to meet Euchre a bunch of times?
I wouldn't say meet. We're like within talking distance and everything, but no, I love you.
Hold on. Holy shit.
Who's calling you?
That's Whiskey. He's calling me for some reason, and then he just blew up the whole podcast. There you go.
Way to go, Whiskey. Anyway, so the Brewers I spent a lot of years in the old County Stadium. You know, I used to be a photographer. I would shoot Packers games when they played in County Stadium, when the visiting team or both teams were on the same sideline and the media was on the other sideline taking pictures. Yeah, I've got a lot of Brett Favre pictures, and so that land is sacred to me too. Just because I'm a Cubs fan doesn't mean I don't appreciate that plot of property in good old Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
There's Miller Park was great, but County Stadium was something to me.
The old gray lady.
But someone posted a picture of the Packer game, because I went to many Packer games at County Stadium before I ever went to Lambeau. But that was a shit stadium to watch football. It really was.
Especially if you were out in the left field.
The 50-yard line seats were like just dick, because we're so far away.
The end zone
seats were the best. How are end zone seats the best? It's like Chicago. Cleveland has sold the dog pound as somehow it was somehow good, but you know, because you're in the dog pound, but that's only because they're shitty seats.
The funny, I was there, and this is history, not to bore everybody, but when Sterling Sharp got his stinger and went down,
I remember that day.
I shot that game, and I shot like when everybody's like over him, caring for him. I shot the Brett Favre fade and then back where he's aerial in the end zone. And a couple of the funniest thing, I shot Jim McMahon and Steve McMichael both in Packers uniforms after they left the Bears. So
yeah, because actually everybody doesn't realize, but the Packers' first Super Bowl championship that they did in '96, Jim McMahon got a Super Bowl ring, his second with the Packers. But seriously, I really did respect McMahon after Charles Martin spiked him. That was not a fair fight there. You know what I mean? I mean, the Packers would play the Bears, and the Bears won the Super Bowl, and they beat us 13-10 and something like 10-6. It was
In 85.
What?
In 85.
Yeah. It was just like,
And that was my senior year in high school. So, I mean, the Super Bowl shuffle, I can still remember 95% of the Bears players.
so why are
and
you a
their
Cubs
numbers.
fan, but a
State line?
Packers fan?
I don't know, man. My mom was born in Madison, so I'm, Badgers and Packers, but my dad and my grandfather, who was very, influential, was a Cubs fan. Sitting listening to Jack Brickhouse and on the transistor radio by the grill. So I just always went to the Bear or the Cubs, and I always went Packers when it came to football.
So my mom went to Ohio State.
I'm sorry?
My mom went to Ohio State.
I heard you. I'm just sorry she went to Ohio State.
No, what are you sorry for? They win national championships. But I grew up in Wisconsin. I used to have to take tests based off of what my chemistry tests were based off of what Wisconsin did. And for whatever reason, in 1982, when I was taking chemistry, I got lucky because that was the first year the Badgers ever were like halfway decent.
Right.
So I didn't have to take quizzes on moles that I have nothing to do, no knowledge whatsoever how that works. But so I loved Ohio State. I loved Wisconsin. Wisconsin in the 2000s was really good. Yeah, there's no doubt. But I was a Brewers fan growing up in Milwaukee. I mean, it's just like the other day I was remembering taking the bus in 1978, which puts me at 14, to the Brewers Pepsi fan club ticket that I got. And I went to the game by myself and came back home. I'm like 14 and I'm taking the public bus system to the county stadium from West Dallas, Wisconsin.
Yep.
You know what I mean? A whole different time period, right?
Yeah.
And so
it's different.
But
anyway,
Cubs games when I was in the 90s, when Harry Carey was doing it, I would every year our fantasy baseball team would go down, take the train. But I basically 2 years in a row organized bus. I rented a bus, sold the tickets for the tickets for $60 a piece. We would go down, we would buy bleacher tickets and watch Cubs game during the Sosa era. And there's no doubt that Wrigley is, I mean, you go to a game at Wrigley in the bleachers and there's no place better on earth.
No, that's right. That's right.
No,
well, we've put everybody to sleep talking about the old days.
Yeah, we did, and you got to get home, and we got to end this.
Yeah, I got an hour drive ahead of me yet, but I was
45. You're in Bardstown. It's 45 minutes.
Not to the northeast side. Anyway, so one final thing on sports. The Cubs and Reds are playing Labor Day weekend in Cincy.
The Cubs and Reds. So I'm going to Wisconsin on Labor Day weekend for my mother-in-law's 80th birthday party.
Okay, you got to do that.
But we will
find somebody to meet me there.
So what about So we got to. I mean, honestly, I'd like to go see a Cincinnati Bengals game against anybody.
We just went last weekend to the Packers.
Well, you did, but I would like, you went to a preseason game, and we all know preseason games suck.
The Packers won, and the stadium was full. Very un-Cincinnati-like. So amazing what a Joe Burrow will do when an Andy Dalton couldn't. But
can I ask you a question? Was there a lot of Packer fans there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
very friendly. I mean, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Green Bay, they're all very, small market, relatively, good blue collar people. I mean, there's some razzing going on, but no, it was very friendly. It wasn't like, going into New York or something where you get duct tape naked to a signpost.
I took my cousin for my wife's 40th birthday party to a Packer Cleveland game. It was right on her birthday. And Favre laid an egg that game, and the Browns won. And my cousin still to this day remembers that game. There's no doubt. All right. So anyways, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for your time and for including me. And in 22 days, we'll actually 20 days, because you're coming down on Tuesday to help.
Well, even I'm going to be there Saturday the 9th. I will be in my house by the night of the 9th.
All right. Well, then we'll get together and we'll tip a few on the 9th and the 10th. Those evenings.
I think Thursday, Kate's coming down early and going to have lunch with us. You have seriously. I don't know. You hired between your significant other and your work associate, you are working with the James Bonds of, your wife is cool and your work associate's cool. So do you like that?
I don't know. I'm just trying it.
Let me know what you think.
Probably. Anyway, yeah, no, I've got a cool gig, no doubt. And I've got good friends, and I might just sleep over there tonight. I got meetings.
No. If you're gonna sleep, you gotta sleep the other way on that low back leather couch. Just get some good blankets.
Yeah. No, I've actually fallen asleep here a few times, usually after lunch, having the big special at Pat's place, meatloaf or whatever, and I fall asleep and lose half the day. But
I found so many different restaurants the last time I was there. I gotta try. So yeah.
That Takumi, do you like it?
It tastes like salsa to me. I actually do like it.
I don't get salsa, but now that you mention it, you could definitely taste like some tomato. But no, it's really sweet. It's almost like a Derringer from Rabbit Hole.
Yeah, but it's got that what would you say, Japanese aspect to it. There's no doubt.
The Wiseman Takumi.
The Wiseman's way better.
Yeah.
And the Wiseman's $34.99 and that's $150.
Are you serious?
Yeah, the Takumi is $150.
No, Wiseman is 35.
Yeah, and I drink the shit out of that. I got my fantasy baseball, not baseball, but football draft coming up, and I'm gonna drink the Wiseman.
Well, let me know if I get in there, if you have any openings.
I'll ask him for sure. All right.
Well,
so
I love you guys, everybody watching. Thank you. We'll see you in Bardstown in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 3 weeks. And if you can't make it this year, September 13th, 14th, and 15th next year, just announced today. This is the first time I've actually spoken out loud about it. So
thank you for that. Everybody held on, and they get next year's, and I'll make sure everybody knows it. And can I use your artwork that you sent me?
Yes.
All right.
I can send you email a higher resolution if you need. That's just a screenshot. But yes, I mean,
I don't need it. I'm gonna book my Airbnb.
Your pre-birthday Airbnb, not birthday Airbnb. Sorry to crush you.
No, if you come to my birthday party, that's not crushing me at all.
All right. I appreciate you. You're going to have a great time. I hope you tell everybody the experience you have here in a couple of weeks, because we need more and more people, more bourbon enthusiasts.
Well, we've got 4 people recording, and we will be putting out a lot of content. That's for sure. All right, everybody.
Don't forget that little guy in the foreground there. Bring him along.
Yeah, it's coming.
All right,
www.scotchybourbonboys.com. And remember, we're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and X, and then also all major podcast formats. So everybody, remember, good times equals good friends. Make sure that you drink responsibly and you don't drink and drive, and live your life dangerously. Little Steve-O will take us out.
Oh, show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. Oh, don't ask why. Show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. Oh, don't ask why. For if we don't find the next whiskey bar, I tell you we must die. I tell you we must die. I tell you we must die.